period of time, and that's that. And their questions got greater, and eventually about 6, 7 cars showed up with maybe 10 plus officers, and they went upstairs and proceeded to tear our apartment apart. You know, they wanted records and they wanted accounting and they wanted to know where all the medicine was, and basically they tore our house apart. And what they found was about 1.1 pounds of finished medicine, about an ounce of concentrate, about $1,200 in cash, and a scale. It was really nothing. It was really nothing. And they kept investigating in my house, asking me questions. I was being vague. I just kept sitting on the same point that we're a caregiver and you're violating my rights. And about midnight came, and the lead sergeant didn't quite know what to do with us. We'd been able to satisfy his questions enough such that he was inclined to leave. However, in '05, this was counterintuitive to this police officer. He'd never walked into a house before and seen over an ounce with a situation under which he could potentially leave and legally leave. So he was having trouble with this. It was just, like I said, counterintuitive. So he got on the phone with the district attorney, dragged him out of bed, and this went on for another 2 hours on the phone with the district attorney until about 2 a.m. when the district attorney got off the phone and the police officer said, "Okay, that's it, it's over with, we're gonna leave." And he took all my product, cash, any ledgers, paperwork he could find. Oh, and he took about 800 patient recommendations to verifications forms and doctor recs, which was a violation of HIPAA laws. So he gave me his business card and he said, that's that, you know. About a week later, I spoke with a civil attorney and was inquiring as to my rights with regard to that violation. And he said, well, you know, why don't you take the business card and call the police and see if you can get them to return your medication and return your records. I messed around with that for about 2 months before I realized that I wasn't going to get anything back. They were just lying to us. And I called that civil attorney back and said, hey, do I have any civil rights? Do I have a civil case? And he said, yes. And so we filed that civil case, and the details of what transpired procedurally, I'm not aware of exactly, but I can say that there was, I think, 2 layers of law in motion under which the judge needed to make a ruling, and we were given positive rulings by the judge on whatever those issues were with regard to the violation of our civil rights. So this is in about September, October. November 1st comes and the DEA breaks down our door in my wife and I's house. Once the DEA raided us, we left our apartment in Placentia and we moved to a house in Fullerton. We just didn't want to be in the city or in the same place where we were, kind of like sitting ducks with police who were more increasingly driving by our house or our apartment and sitting in the driveway across the street, and it just got uncomfortable. They even had the city install a camera on the telephone pole right across the street from our apartment, with the lens of that camera trained on our front door. So I thought that camera was just wide angle at first, catching the entire intersection, but when my attorney came out to look at it, he said, no, that was put there for you, that's watching you, you need to get out of Dodge. So we moved to Fullerton. November 1st comes, and that's when the DEA breaks down our door. Well, in looking back on how the DEA got word of our collective in Orange County, there's a couple layers going on. First of all, there was only one other collective at the time in Orange County, and that was OC 420, Orange County 420 Primary Caregivers, by Steve Lawrence, who is now passed away, God rest his soul. Love Steve Lawrence. And so I think that because I was the second in Orange County, because I had a civil lawsuit against a municipality a small municipality. The city of Placentia is considered a bedroom community in Orange County. And third, we're in a bad economy. So here we have a judge on a civil case who is entertaining our motions and is inclined to see our side of the issue. Also, Felix Kaw in Garden Grove had a lawsuit that everybody knows about that Felix Kaw won. The city of Garden Grove got a fairly large judgment against them. My understanding was about $400 in damages with $200,000 in additional attorney's fees. Now that's really important because that is the judge sending the message to the government that an award of attorney's fees on top of civil damages means that that situation was egregious. It means that those police should not have violated Felix Kaw's recommendation. They should have been more civil to him and treated him fairly and not ran him through the system like they did. So that civil judgment sent the message back to the city of Garden Grove and their police officials to please be more respectful of patients with valid recommendations and valid IDs who are not breaking any other laws. So there's these three things kind of going on at the same time, and in a bad economy with a civil case that has much larger damages. Our damages were much larger than Felix Kaw's. He only lost 1 ounce of personal medication in a traffic stop. We lost over a pound, some cash, and records with regard to a collective. So our damages are much greater, and the judge in our Placentia case was seeing our side. We believe that the city attorney for the city of Placentia, and I hope you're watching this, city attorney of Placentia, I believe you called the DEA and said, I've got a problem. I've got a civil case under which I screwed up and violated these people's rights, and I'm now in trouble because there's a judge on this case that we may lose. There's already precedent. Garden Grove just lost under Kaw. We could lose again with even larger damages. And under this economy, this probably wouldn't be a good thing. So, Mr. Federal Government, Mr. DEA, if you could help us out and arrest these people, put them under indictment, it will satisfy a legal mechanism called standing. If a person is under federal indictment, in federal custody, on federal probation or parole, they do not have in the federal court what is called standing. Standing is your legal right to sue. I'll wrap this up. Your legal right to sue is violated or voided once I was indicted, which removed the entire liability from the city of Placentia from them. Well, that was a good plan and all because it got the city of Placentia out from an impending loss, as I see it. But what happened is the judge in the civil case dismissed my case without prejudice. I get these two terms mixed up, but that means that I can go back to the civil court if and when I beat my federal case. And if I do get standing back, then I get to go back to the civil court in the civil case on Placentia and reenact that case. My damages then were minor compared to what my damages are now that this matter has been elevated to a federal level. So this is huge. This is huge. The government has a real interest in seeing their indictment through, and I have a real interest in seeing patients' rights protected and seeing a new law made with regard to patients' rights to testify in a federal court about a medical defense and a right to sue civilly for violation of civil rights.
Fantastic, Steele. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us on the show.
If you'd like to get more information on our federal case, please visit w.steelescase.org. That's STEELESCASE.org. And for collective accreditation, please visit w.caregiversalliance-oc.org.
My goodness, don't have a whole lot of time to cover a lot of other news tonight, but Governor signs a bill. This is big one, repealing or reducing adult possession to an infraction rather than a misdemeanor, no court case, no court appearance, no court costs. That's the biggie. Costa Mesa City Council just voted to change their medical marijuana dispensary ban. Now all the operators must be patients and they must grow on site. And they're still straightening out a lot of details on the case. They're still looking at the Anaheim case for final guidance and also for Proposition 19 for final guidance on that case. Another California Court of Appeals, the federal regulation does not preempt California's decision to decriminalize medical marijuana. This is qualified patients versus the city of Anaheim. Collective in Anaheim sued the city of Anaheim saying, hey, we're collectives. The state gives us the right to operate as a collective. You say we cannot operate in the city of Anaheim, so we're challenging you on that. Because the CUA and the MMPA do not mandate conduct that federal law prohibits, nor pose an obstacle to federal enforcement of federal law, the enactment decriminalization provisions are not preempted by federal law. We got 10 major health benefits of medical marijuana. Number one, migraine headaches. You get a migraine headache from thinking about all the different ways that the federal government is trying to mess up with your life. But this is a good way of relieving migraine headaches. Also, it slows tumor growth and numerous cancers. Some people have said that marijuana was going to be causing cancer, and then they start looking, and the deeper they look, the more they find that it's actually helping relieve cancer and curing cancer. And of course, it takes care of the chemotherapy. It takes care of some of the terrible, terrible sicknesses from chemotherapy that people get in their cancer treatments. If you have the chemotherapy, you're very, very sick in the stomach. My wife had something very close to the chemotherapy, so I know what they're looking at. And then they tell you, hey, take this pill and it'll get rid of it. Hey, I can't keep the pill down. What good is this doing to me? Slightly also prevents Alzheimer's disease. I have my doubts about that, but it does prevent Alzheimer's disease. It also, I know, treats glaucoma and prevents seizures. It helps those with ADD and ADHD. It helps relieve MS, a lot of the muscle twangs and the nervousness from the MS. It helps relieve those. And helps calm those with Tourette's syndrome and OUCD. Murrieta pot farmer sues landlord over stolen plants. Secret government agents circling airplane over pot farms in Oakland. CBS News vet Howard Ehrenstein busted for cultivation. Another interesting medical cannabis highlight is that cannabis has shown to be showing promise in fighting breast cancer. This is conducted by the California Pacific Medical Center Research Institute. The CBD inhibits the gene which causes the aggressive spread of the cancer cells. Thank you for joining us for Orange County NORML News again, presented to you by Orange County NORML, our website, orangecountynormal.org, where you can find a lot more information about our organization, about what we've got going on, about other newscasts, and a lot of great information. So thank you for joining us and have a wonderful evening.